4.5 billion years ago, Earth was a lifeless rock floating in the void. No forests, no animals, no bacteria, just sterile chemicals, water, carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, swirling in primordial oceans under a toxic sky. No DNA, no cells, no metabolism, nothing alive. Then something happened. Those dead molecules began to organize. Patterns emerged, chains formed, something started copying itself. Energy began flowing through chemical cycles. Membranes appeared, creating boundaries. And life was born, not by magic, not by chance alone, but through the inevitable workings of physics and chemistry over hundreds of millions of years. This is abiogenesis, the origin of life from non-living matter. And for the first time in history, science is piecing together exactly how it happened. The greatest mystery in biology is becoming a solved puzzle. The origin of life is one of the most profound questions humanity has ever asked. For millennia, we assumed life required a divine spark, something beyond the natural world. But modern science tells a different story. Life is not supernatural, it's chemistry. Complex, organized, self-replicating chemistry, but chemistry nonetheless. And if the right ingredients, energy sources, and environments exist, life doesn't just can emerge, it probably will emerge. This is the story of abiogenesis, the story of how dead rocks became living cells. Let's begin 4.5 billion years ago. Earth has just formed from the debris orbiting the young sun. It's a violent, molten hellscape. The surface is covered in lava. Asteroids constantly bombard the planet. Volcanoes erupt everywhere. The atmosphere is nothing like today's. No oxygen, no ozone layer. Instead, it's carbon dioxide, water vapor, methane, ammonia, nitrogen, and hydrogen sulfide. Deadly to modern life. But these are the raw materials, the cosmic kitchen where life's recipe will be cooked. This period is called the Hadean Eon, named after Hades, the Greek underworld, because it seemed like hell. But even in this chaos, chemistry was working. As the planet cooled, water vapor condensed. Rain fell for millions of years. Oceans formed. Beneath those oceans, volcanic vents on the seafloor began pumping mineral-rich, superheated water into the cold surrounding water. These hydrothermal vents created chemical gradients, regions where hot met cold, acidic met alkaline, reduced met oxidized. These gradients are key. They provide energy. And where there's energy in chemistry, interesting things happen. Comets and meteorites also played a role. They delivered water, organic molecules, and minerals. Space is not empty. It's full of chemistry. Interstellar clouds contain amino acids, sugars, alcohols, even nucleobases, the building blocks of DNA and RNA. The universe is an organic chemistry lab. Earth was seeded with life's ingredients from the cosmos and from its own violent geology. The stage was set. Now let's talk about the first breakthrough in understanding abiogenesis. In 1953, a graduate student named Stanley Miller and his advisor, Miller-Urey, designed an experiment. They wanted to simulate Earth's early atmosphere. They filled a glass apparatus with methane, ammonia, hydrogen, and water vapor, gases thought to be present on early Earth. They added electric sparks to mimic lightning. They heated the mixture. After just 1 week, the water in the flask turned pink. When they analyzed it, they found amino acids, glycine, alanine, aspartic acid, the building blocks of proteins, created from sterile gases and electricity. No life required, just chemistry. This was revolutionary. It showed that life's building blocks don't require life to form. They form spontaneously under the right conditions. Over the following decades, variations of the Miller-Urey experiment produced even more complex molecules, sugars, fatty acids, nucleotides. Researchers tweaked the gas mixtures, used different energy sources like UV radiation or heat from volcanic vents. Every time, organic molecules formed. Life's ingredients are not rare. They're inevitable products of basic chemistry. But Earth wasn't the only source. In 1969, a meteorite fell in Murchison, Australia. When scientists analyzed it, they found over 70 different amino acids. Some of them don't even exist in Earth's biology. This meteorite came from space, from an asteroid that formed billions of years ago. It had been carrying amino acids all that time. Space delivers life's building blocks to planets. Comets and asteroids are chemical delivery systems. The entire universe is cooking up organic molecules. If life's ingredients are everywhere, then life itself might be common. So we have amino acids, sugars, fatty acids, and nucleotides forming spontaneously on early Earth and arriving from space. But these are just building blocks. They're not life. Life requires organization, metabolism, replication, and evolution. How do you get from a soup of organic molecules to a living cell? This is the hard part, and the answer involves RNA. For decades, biologists faced a chicken and egg problem. Modern cells use DNA to store information and proteins to do the work, catalyzing reactions, building structures, transporting molecules. But DNA can't do anything without proteins to read and copy it, and proteins can't be made without DNA to encode them. Which came first? Neither seemed able to exist without the other. This was the central paradox of the origin of life. Until researchers discovered that RNA can do both jobs. RNA, ribonucleic acid, is similar to DNA but more versatile. It can store genetic information like DNA. But it can also fold into complex shapes and catalyze chemical reactions like proteins. These catalytic RNAs are called ribozymes. In the 1980s, Thomas Seck and Sidney Altman independently discovered ribozymes in living cells. They won the Nobel Prize. Their discovery suggested a solution to the chicken and egg problem. Maybe early life was based entirely on RNA. This idea became known as the RNA World hypothesis. In the RNA world, the first living systems were self-replicating RNA molecules. No DNA, no proteins. Just RNA copying itself, mutating and evolving. Eventually, RNA evolved the ability to make proteins, which are better catalysts. Later, DNA appeared as a more stable way to store information. But RNA was first. This elegantly solves the paradox. You don't need DNA and proteins simultaneously. You need RNA, which can do both jobs crudely, then evolve the specialists later. But how does RNA itself form? RNA is made of nucleotides. Each nucleotide has 3 parts: a sugar, ribose, a phosphate group, and a nitrogenous base, adenine, guanine, cytosine, or uracil. Forming nucleotides from scratch is chemically difficult. Ribose is unstable. Bases and sugars don't easily link. For years, this was a major obstacle to the RNA world hypothesis. Critics argued that RNA is too complex to form spontaneously. Then, in 2009, chemist John Sutherland and his team at the University of Cambridge made a breakthrough. They showed that nucleotides don't have to form by combining pre-made sugars and bases. Instead, both can form together from simpler molecules in a single reaction pathway. Using cyanide derivatives, phosphate, and UV light, all plausible on early Earth, they synthesized RNA nucleotides. The process required specific conditions, but those conditions match environments on early Earth: shallow pools with cycles of wetting and drying, UV radiation from the sun, volcanic minerals as catalysts. It works. With nucleotides available, short RNA chains can form. In lab experiments, RNA fragments spontaneously link together on mineral surfaces like clay. Clays have charged surfaces that attract and organize molecules. They act as templates, concentrating nucleotides and facilitating polymerization. Some RNA sequences can even catalyze their own replication. In 2015, researchers in Jack Szostak's lab at Harvard created an RNA molecule that copies itself with about 90% accuracy. Not perfect, but good enough. Imperfect copying means mutations. Mutations mean variation. Variation plus selection means evolution. You now have Darwinian evolution happening at the molecular level, before cells, before DNA, before life as we usually define it. These self-replicating RNAs would compete for nucleotides. Faster replicators outcompete slower ones. More stable sequences persist. Evolution by natural selection begins. This is life's first step, molecules that copy themselves and evolve. But there's a problem. If RNA molecules are floating free in the ocean, they get diluted. Reactions slow down. Evolution stalls. Life needs containment. It needs a boundary. It needs something like a cell membrane. Enter lipids. Fatty acids are simple organic molecules with a water-loving head and a water-fearing tail. In water, they spontaneously form structures, micelles, bilayers, vesicles. These are protocell membranes. No machinery required, just physics. Drop fatty acids into water, and they self-organize into spheres. Inside these spheres, chemical reactions are concentrated. Molecules don't drift away. This is the origin of the cell membrane, the most fundamental structure in biology. Experiments show that RNA can get trapped inside lipid vesicles. These are called protocells. Protocells can grow. They absorb more fatty acids from the environment, enlarging the membrane. They can divide. Physical agitation, waves, currents, causes them to split into smaller vesicles. If the RNA inside has replicated, the daughter vesicles inherit copies. You now have heredity, growth, and division. The basic features of life. Jack Szostak's lab has created protocells that do exactly this. They grow, divide, and evolve. They're not alive in the full sense. They don't have metabolism or sophisticated regulation, but they're close. They're on the threshold. Now add metabolism. Early protocells probably didn't have enzymes or complex biochemistry, but they didn't need it. Hydrothermal vents provide a natural metabolism. At these vents, hot, mineral-rich water from inside the Earth meets cold ocean water. Chemical gradients form. Protons flow across mineral barriers. This flow of protons is energy. Modern cells use the same principle, proton gradients across membranes, to make ATP, the energy currency of life. Early protocells near hydrothermal vents could harvest this energy directly. No enzymes needed, just chemistry and physics. The iron-sulfur minerals at hydrothermal vents also catalyze reactions. They fix carbon dioxide into organic molecules. They reduce nitrogen into ammonia. They drive synthesis of amino acids and other building blocks. In 2019, researchers showed that these reactions can occur in lab simulations of vent conditions. Protocells near vents would have had a built-in metabolism, powered by geochemistry. They didn't invent metabolism. They inherited it from the planet. Over time, RNA within protocells evolved to take over some of these functions. It started catalyzing reactions more efficiently than the minerals. It began encoding information about which reactions to perform. Ribozymes became more complex. Eventually, RNA evolved the ability to make peptides, short chains of amino acids. Peptides are protoproteins. They're better catalysts than RNA. A division of labor emerged. RNA stores information. Peptides do the work. This is the transition from the RNA world to the RNA protein world. Then, DNA appeared. DNA is more stable than RNA. It's double-stranded, which allows error checking during replication. Cells that use DNA to store their master copies of genetic information had an advantage. RNA became the messenger, carrying information from DNA to protein-making machinery. Proteins became the workers, catalyzing reactions and building structures. DNA became the archive. This is the system all life uses today. But it evolved gradually from simpler RNA-based systems. By about 3.8 billion years ago, the first true cells existed. We call this ancestral organism LUCA, the Last Universal Common Ancestor. LUCA had DNA, RNA, proteins, a cell membrane, and a metabolism. All life on Earth, bacteria, archaea, plants, animals, fungi, descends from LUCA. We know this because all life shares the same genetic code, the same basic biochemistry, the same molecular machinery. We're all cousins. And we all trace back to that first cell, 3.8 billion years ago. How do we know life appeared that early? Fossils. In 3.5 billion-year-old rocks in Australia, we find stromatolites, layered structures created by microbial mats. In 3.7 billion-year-old rocks in Greenland, we find carbon isotope ratios consistent with biological activity. Life didn't wait. As soon as Earth became habitable, after the late heavy bombardment of asteroids ended around 3.8 billion years ago, life appeared, almost immediately. This suggests abiogenesis is not a rare fluke. It's something that happens quickly when conditions are right. This has profound implications. If life arose fast on Earth, it probably arises fast elsewhere. Mars had liquid water 4 billion years ago. Did life start there too? Europa, Jupiter's moon, has a subsurface ocean. Enceladus, Saturn's moon, has hydrothermal vents. Titan has liquid methane lakes and complex organic chemistry. Could life exist there? We don't know yet. But abiogenesis suggests life is a natural consequence of chemistry and energy. Wherever you have liquid water, organic molecules, and energy gradients, life might emerge. Lab experiments support this. Researchers have created artificial cells that evolve. They compete, cooperate, and adapt. They develop strategies. Some even exhibit predator-prey dynamics. Lifelike behaviors emerge from simple chemical rules plus natural selection. Abiogenesis is not a miracle. It's an emergent property of thermodynamics, chemistry, and time. Some religious and philosophical perspectives resist this. If life is just chemistry, does that make it meaningless? Does abiogenesis eliminate the need for a creator? These are personal questions. Science describes how life began, not why. But understanding the mechanism doesn't diminish the wonder. The fact that lifeless atoms can organize into Mozart, Einstein, and you, that's extraordinary. Whether you see it as the universe awakening to itself or as God working through natural law, abiogenesis reveals the creative power embedded in nature. So where does this leave us? Life came from nothing, not from supernatural intervention, but from the self-organizing properties of matter and energy, from lightning and volcanoes and hydrothermal vents, from RNA and lipids and minerals, from chemistry that copies itself, mutates, and evolves, from billions of years of trial and error. The same process that gave rise to the first cell gave rise to every organism since, including you. You are made of the same carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, and nitrogen that swirled in Earth's primordial oceans. You are chemistry that learned to think. And that's not less miraculous than magic. It's more, because it's real.